Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 24 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Jashin sealed inside of him. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King of What If Naruto Was the Hope of the Uchiha Clan, and enjoy that guys. And also, stay tuned for a brand new episode over Anime King 2 later on guys, which I hope you will enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, as the Raikage was currently at Konoha, the Raikage came to speak to Minato as he wanted to see, look in the man's eyes if he was really going to start something. The Raikage had no problem fighting for his people and starting a war, but he wasn't going to believe a lie if it was a lie. Minato had no idea what Naruto was doing. The man was sincere about it, and he assured the Raikage as much as he wanted him dead, he wanted him dead as well. Minato didn't see Naruto as his son anymore. After all that he did, despite his bad treatments of Naruto, he still did not see him as a son, despite he knew that he went wrong. And he wanted Naruto dead as much as anyone else, and know that Naruto was starting rumors about him, doing this on purpose just to get back at the other villages. As Naruto threw Yujito's body off the massive steep, something in the water rose up, something rather demonic, as it went back down after swallowing her whole. As Naruto made his way off, as he made his way towards the hidden stone, arriving there, it's been 3 years as Kurasuke was shocked, as she never imagined someone would grow so much in 3 years. He was even taller than her now, and not to mention he was wearing a black open shirt that showed off all of his toned abs and muscles. As Naruto asked him for a quick favor, Minato sent out a team as a neighboring village. A group of Chunins were sent there. Given the fact that many missing ninjas had been starting to attack Konoha ninjas, he sent out a team just in case, and he sent Kakashi and Menma behind. For the scouting team, a new member, a part of Team 8 called Ryu, he was at Inazaka as well, to help them for tracking. When they got there, they saw the heads of the 4 Chunins that were sent. As Naruto arrived, Menma wasted no time as he took on Naruto, including Kakashi. But Menma was shocked, all of them were. As Naruto put them all in their place, he also sliced Kakashi's arm right off for trying to attack him from behind the Shidori. And nothing they did seemed to be able to bring him down, as Menma flashed around Naruto so fast. Even though he learned his father technique, he was still not as fast as Minato, as Naruto was able to kick him right to the higher shin, as Naruto's eyes and speed and his reflex were on a completely different level. As Naruto transformed, putting the fear of death in their heart, Kunai tried to use a genjutsu on him. Kakashi got back up, as Naruto looked like he was about to kill them all after he killed Ryu and the puppy. As Hinata told him to stop, that she would go with him. As Menma told her no, as she knew what Naruto wanted. As Naruto smiles, he took her and vanished, leaving Menma a pathetic, crying mess. Realized that he trained so hard and so long, and yet he was able to put a dent in Naruto. Anything that they did, he healed so quickly. It was like he was unkillable. As Kakashi had pierced him from behind, but nothing. As all of them were left with the feeling disappointment to go back to Konoha and alert this. Yes, it was incredibly bad. As Hinata woke up, she realized that she was in absolutely nothing. As Naruto was standing there waiting for her to wake up, Hinata fought as much as she could, but after 3 years of dreams, nightmares, she gave in to her urges, as she did what her body wanted her to do, even though her mind knew that it was incredibly wrong and vile for her to even do something like this. Unknown to Naruto, things were happening inside his body. The Kaiba found out what Jashin was doing, but it was already too late. But the Kyuubi could not say anything because Jashin, whatever she did to her to make her hair change black. Zana, calling herself now. Zana was completely subdued to Jashin, unable to fight against her will no matter what she said or did. And she actually agreed with her because she was subdued to her, no longer loyal to anyone else but her. The Shinigami was able to break through some boundaries because Jashin merging with Naruto to get what he wanted. As he spoke to Naruto, but Naruto laughed it off, saying that he think he can fool him. He knew that Jashin would never betray him, but the Shinigami warned him and told him that his end was soon. But Naruto thought that the Shinigami just wanted him to fight back against his sister, something Naruto will never do. So yeah guys, that's basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So to begin this new episode, sitting down on top of a small mountain peak was the lost Uchiha that has been missing for the past 3 years. His eyes were closed as he looked out in the depths of the forest. Sasuke waited until something behind him rose up. "Have you found him?" Sasuke asked. "I'm afraid not," the white Zetsu behind him said. "The rumors are that he took the two-tailed Jinchuriki host, and he just vanished with her. We don't know where he is, but next time he pop up we will find him, and you will get your chance, Sasuke. You can count on us," the white Zetsu said. Sasuke didn't acknowledge the white Zetsu antics. He didn't even open his eyes. Sasuke was getting antsy as the moment passed on. He has been pushing himself and training intensely for the past 3 years to get his revenge. But Naruto has went under the radar, completely wiped off the face of the earth for the past 3 years. And then he finally showed up to take the two-tailed Jinchuriki host. The Akatsuki wasn't pleased by that. Now the 129 tails were missing, messing up their plans, and they need to find Naruto. They need to find him immediately. But Sasuke had a different goal in mind. Screw the Akatsuki. He was gonna kill Naruto himself. 9 tails or not, he was gonna be the one to see the light leave Naruto's eyes as he was dying at his feet. It might ruin the masked man's plan, but Sasuke wanted nothing more than to see Naruto die at his feet. He knew that he wronged many people in his past by leaving Konoha like that. Menma, Mito. He just left with that barely written sentence to them. He was sure that they were pissed off at him and probably wouldn't forgive him for him deserting the village. But strangely enough, he hasn't been known as a missing nin. He wasn't in the bingo book, he didn't know why. But no one would be able to find him until he was done with his dream to make Naruto die at his feet. As he got to his feet, that was the only thing he wanted. "Continue searching," Sasuke said. "Will do," the white Zetsu said, as it went back on the ground. But the white Zetsu was not only reporting to Sasuke. After all, it's not like he was in charge. Well, he thought that he was the one leading the show, but there was a big misunderstanding. Meanwhile, at Konoha, silence. Utter silence. Menma Namikaze sat in utter silence. Menma felt terrible. He felt worthless. He felt humiliated. He felt nothingness at the same time. His body was numb to certain things going on around him. They had already made it back to the village and report what happened. As Hayashi was stern as always. The relationship between Menma and Hinata was a big thing between the Hyuga and the Hokage's son. With their marriage, the Hyugas believed they would gain more power within the Hokage's ranks, and Menma was the next candidate to become Hokage in every shape and form. Hinata could not become the clan heir, seeing that she was married to the clan. Hanabi would take on that role, as she would be the next leader of the clan. That is the only reason why Hinata was still on a team, while she was still participating as a ninja instead of dealing with clan duties, because of her marriage with Menma. And now she was gone. Onfus were out, searching the entire place trying to find her, trying to find some sliver of hope that she was still alive. But knowing Naruto, the chances were slim. Kushina had held her son. As she saw the pain and grief on his face, yet he did not cry. He refused to cry. He was holding everything inside. He barely talked. He barely moved. He barely gave any sign that he was alive. He was a wreck. It was tearing him apart that all these years he was out there, busting his ass training, and yet Naruto returned on a completely different level. The monster was able to knock him down like he was nothing. He had delivered several key strikes to end Naruto's life when he was flashing around him, yet Naruto's eyes were able to locate him at every single turn, and his speed was just ridiculous, and when he transformed into whatever he transformed into, he didn't stand a chance. Kakashi was still in the infirmary. His arm had been completely ripped off in a bad way, but he would live. Kurenai's throat was a mess. As Naruto had squeezed it tightly, she could barely talk, but they would recover. Ryu was dead, including his pup. Once again, the Inuzakas were vengeful, but this time, they had the right to rip Naruto's throat clean open, because he was no longer a Konoha ninja. Almost everyone wanted to see him dead. Menma was just praying that Hinata was still alive. He loved her. He loved her from the moment he saw her, and he couldn't. He couldn't live with himself knowing that he failed to protect her. Knowing that he failed because he was too weak. As Minato stepped in the room as he looked at his son, he placed a hand on Menma's shoulder to try and comfort him. But once again, Menma was showing no reaction, no emotion. It was like he was dead. Meanwhile, at the house, Mito couldn't believe it. She stood with her mother in silence. All these years, all of them training, getting stronger. Menma was stronger than Mito, not by a whole lot, but he was stronger. Proving that much when he used a Harashin. But Mito's movements were chains, just like her mother, not to mention her Kinjutsu was off the chart. She might not be a sword expert like Ami, but she has been trained in all different degree of arts, including kinetic strength, and not to mention her medical ninjutsu. She and Sakura was excelling at that, including Ami, but she was not as good as medical ninjutsu as them. The girl mostly took towards Kinjutsu, and it fit her because she was just like her sister, Yujeu. If worse come to worse, do you think Menma will be alright? Asked Mito. Kushina's head was lowered. She had long since known that there was no way of saving Naruto, that he has gone from being a human to a monster a long time ago. Something that was their fault, but something that they could not change right now. It will be hard, but we will be there for him. Kushina knew Naruto. He would want to make Menma suffer by taking away something that he loved, and that was Hinata. That was the whole deal for him being there, right? We'll be there for him, and we'll get him through this difficult time, said Kushina. As she got to her feet, she was angry. The squabble between the family was spreading, and now it had gone worse. For him to kidnap Hinata, he has killed countless of people already, including the Uchiha clan, forcing Sasuke to flee the village, seeking training in other places. Up to this point, no one has heard a single thing about Sasuke, and they did not know where he was. She just prayed and hoped that Hinata was alive. Meanwhile, Hinata's eyes were wide open as she looked to the ceiling where she was. She felt disgusted with herself. She felt like she wanted to puke. But a part of her has never felt so alive before. She never understood the strange attraction that she got from him. She never knew why. Perhaps it was because she was a Hyuga, stern to her ways, never doing things out of sequence, but yet there he was. Someone who didn't give a damn about the rules, did what he wanted, say what he wanted. Someone who just did not care about most things. And this was her first time. And they did not stop at one. And it was the most amazing feeling that she ever felt in her life. But yet, she betrayed Menma. At first, she tried to fight it off, she tried to push back, but as it went on, she leaned into it, and she found herself enjoying her time, clearing her mind of all other thoughts, including Konoha, just to feel a moment of pleasure. But now it was over. The pleasure feeling was slowly disappearing as she realized her grave mistake, how terrible of a person she was, and what she did. When they found out about this, she was going to be seen as a whore. Someone that was spat upon her name would be used as a bad example for what she did. She was going to tear her family apart, her relationship with Menma, all of her friends, just for what? A few hours of pleasure, which was beyond incredible, but still, her life was now over and there was no fixing that because of him. As she watched him on the rather large bed he was sleeping, eyes closed, his guard completely dropped. Hinata looked towards the ground as she was still completely naked. As she saw her pouch, she slowly reached for her pouch, where she pulled a kunai as she looked towards him. He was still sleeping. Perhaps this was what she wanted, to know this feeling before he died. To know that after this he could die. She wouldn't have to think about it ever again and no one would ever know. She could say that she got the chance to kill him and escape. As she brought the kunai down, her hand hesitated for a moment as she stopped right at the mark on his chest. But her mind didn't flash through about Minma, her family, her little sister Hanabi, everything. How disgraced she would be if they found out about this. And her hand drive the kunai into his chest, tearing into his heart. She quickly jumped off the bed, moving herself from him, as Naruto pulled himself up. He looked down. Trying to kill me, huh? As he slowly pulled out the kunai without much effort. He dropped the kunai as he looked at his hand strangely. He felt strange. He knew he could not die as long as Jashin was inside of him. But that wasn't a problem, he felt strange. He shrugged it off though. How? You're supposed to be dead, she said. Oh, didn't you know? You can't kill the unkillable, said Naruto. As she stepped back. So you're immortal now, she said. You've become a true monster. Oh, honey. I've been a monster since I was born, he said. As he moved and grabbed her, he lifted her up by her shoulders. I must say, it was truly wonderful. I told you I would take what I want, and I'm glad that you did it without much hesitation. You forced yourself on me, she said, as Naruto trailed a hand down her cheek. So you didn't like it, he asked. She refused to answer that question, and that made Naruto laugh. What now? What else do you want from me? You've broken me. You've used me. You did this to hurt Minma as well, didn't you? Exactly, said Naruto. So I was just a way to hurt Minma to you. Well, that. And I've always wanted to taste you, said Naruto as he licked her cheek. As she tried to strike him, but he grabbed her hand. What now? What do you want? It's simple. Time to take you back to Konoha. No, she said. She tried to move away from him. He was gonna hurt Minma even more by telling him what he did. I won't let you, she said, as she reached for a kunai, the one that he threw away. She'd rather kill herself than let anyone go through that, or let herself go through that as she brought the kunai up towards her throat. She would never shame her family like that to make him admit that she enjoyed the pleasure of being with this demon who killed so many people. But Naruto slapped the kunai into her hand, and he knocked her out as he placed her on the bed. Well, Naruto-kun, you finally got to have her for your own, and not to mention take something that Minma could never regain, her innocence, said Jashin, as Naruto smiled at that. Now it's time. As Naruto smiled, well, I guess I've waited long enough. First thing first, I'm gonna get the rest of your power, as Naruto was speaking to the Kyuubi from Mito. But she did not respond. Zana, he said. Oh, she's sleeping. Oh, okay, said Naruto. As he got dressed. He also dressed Hinata as well, as he laughed. It's good to hide her modesty. It made him laugh. As he made his way off. Today was gonna be a fun day. Time skip. Something was incredibly wrong. The place was sunny a moment ago and then the next moment, darkness ensued. The envoys that were watching the border were supposed to report to the Hokage when they saw something dangerous or stop it. But they could not because they were slaughtered instantly. Darkness ensued over the village as Minato flashed out of his office and appeared on top of the building where he saw a crow cawing over the village. But it wasn't just one. Hundreds of crows spread over the village. The people started panicking, screams and chaos. Shinobis instantly started to move the people towards all the bunkers, instantly knowing what this meant. This was what happened the last time. A feeling of death and dread washed over the village as they felt it coming from the main gate. The gate guards, Izumo and Kitetsu, saw a wall of darkness heading towards the village. reeking of death, plants dying, the earth cracking apart as he walked, releasing so many death, bloodlust. Chaos was reaping over the entire place. Made my eyes snapped open with complete rage. Before Mito could say a single word, then he flashed away. Kushina quickly got herself ready as she grabbed her blade. Everyone got on guard as they made their way. It was time. He was finally showing his face after all these long years. As Aizumon Kitetsu got out of their boots, even though their knees were shaking and buckling together, the fear watching over them made him take a step back when Naruto stood there unmoving. He had Hinata over his shoulder. She was completely out. In an instant, Konoha was sent sailing as he stabbed right in the ground, as Minato flashed right there. As he looked at his son, Naruto was actually taller than him now. The descriptions that he got from Shino was correct, given the fact Kurenai could not talk and Kakashi was in the hospital. He got everything from Shino, as Menma was not in that state. As Minato watches another Kurenai land beside him, as Menma appeared, he looked toward his son, as the rest of the ninjas fall shortly after. Naruto was strong, he might be strong, but yet he could not face the full might of Konoha. But Minato didn't want Naruto to fight here. He didn't want the village to be destroyed. As Naruto stood there with a smirk, Menma stepped forward only for Minato to raise a hand, stopping him from doing something stupid. "What did you do to her?" said Minato in a calm tone, as he looked towards his son. Well, he was no longer his son. Oh. As Naruto took Hinata off his shoulder and tapped her on the forehead, her eyes instantly fluttered open. Her eyes met with Menma as she saw the anger in his eyes looking towards Naruto. Tears quickly filled her eyes as Naruto tossed her like nothing but a piece of meat. As Menma jumped and caught her in his arms, the tears were already flowing freely down her face. As Menma noticed the red wrists, like someone had grabbed her tightly. As he looked towards Naruto with rage, Hinata didn't want to be here because he was about to tell him. He was about to tell them what happened and how quickly she gave in. "I took something from her that you could never take back, Menma," said Naruto. Menma's eyes went wide hearing those words, as he looked down towards the crying Hinata. "And she couldn't stop me." Hinata was shocked. "Yes, I tainted your delicate flower." You didn't," said Minato, as he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Of course I did, father. Don't call me that," Minato said. "Well, I guess I now disown. Whoop-de-doo," said Naruto with a smile. "But yes, I took something that Menma can't get back. And I must say, she was delicious," as he licked his lips. Menma couldn't believe what he was hearing, as Tsunade was behind him in a second. And the other Anvus and ninjas followed shortly after, as the others leaped over the wall, and they blocked the path of Naruto escaping because he would not leave. In tow, Minato watches his wife arrive, along with Mito, Ami. All of them arrive. It was a lot of them as Naruto looked around, but his smile never diminished. His smile just seemed to increase. Everyone heard what Naruto did though. Tsunade came forward and gestured for Menma to release her, as she placed 2 fingers on Hinata's forehead, making the girl sleep. "I'll take care of her." He didn't want to release her though. "Trust me, she's gonna be okay, I'll take care of her." Menma nodded, as he needed to get her out of here for real, because he was about to kill Naruto. "How could you?" he said. "How could I take her?" said Naruto. "Well, you're always boasting that your girlfriend is this and that. So I just had to wait until the perfect opportunity for everything to fall correctly in my hands." "You monster," said Mito. "And I'm glad you know it," said Naruto, as Kushina looked towards him with nothing but utter disgust. "How could you do that to her?" "How could you?" she asked. "Am I supposed to feel some kind of regret for that?" said Naruto, as he looked around. As Minato held on to his kunai firmly and threw it. As the man wasted no time, he was gonna teleport Naruto away from here, out in the woods. He would fight him. and he would finally take his life and end his misery once and for all. As Naruto's eyes snapped towards a kunai, it was inches away from him as Minato body just phased into existence. Minato was shocked. His Hyrule was incredibly fast. So, to see Naruto duck under him trying to grab him was a complete shock, as Naruto's eyes were firmly set on the man. Another kunai was sent Naruto's way, as Naruto lowered himself to the ground, dodging Minma attempts of grabbing him as Naruto burst into smoke. The next second, scream could be heard as a kunoichi fell, as Naruto tear her throat clean open. Two sets of chains were sent towards him. He was against Konoha, all of its might. Suddenly, a massive output of blackness exploded from his body. It wasn't the usual dark smoke, it was black, incredibly so. It was strangely tainted and darker in a way. Naruto was confused as he dropped to one knee. What the hell? He then coughed. He coughed violently as black smoke escaped his mouth. The first burst of black smoke kept everyone at bay, as Minato told them all to stand back. That thing was rumored to have killed thousands of people in Tanjiro, turning their insides into mush. He had to stop it as he went through hand sign. Placing his hand down on the ground, the people moved back into the village as a massive ceiling wall arrived. To protect everyone inside his village, the gate was sealed off. As Naruto was coughing badly, he didn't know what was going on. What's happening, he says, he clawed at his chest. As Naruto found himself in his mindscape, what am I doing here? It's time. It's time for me to take something from them, to make them know that they can't win. And that will be my sister, Mito, said Naruto. No, you won't. Naruto was confused as he saw the Kyuubi looking at him. What's wrong, Senna? He asked. You won't take anything away from them. In fact, as Naruto turned behind him, you won't be taking anything else anymore. Naruto was confused as black chains shot from the ground and grabbed his arms to yank him downwards and he dropped towards his knees. Jashin, what's going on? I'm afraid you lose. Naruto was confused as he didn't know what they were doing. I'm afraid this is not time for our little game, said Naruto. I can't stay in here right now. Oh, this is not a game, Naruto-kun. You see, my brother was right. As Naruto did not say anything as he looked at her, I was just using you. So in the end I could get what I want. He was right. And all the misery, all the hatred that you went through because of your family, you won't be able to kill them. In fact, you lose. Because what my brother told you was reality. I was using you as a conduit so that I can walk this earth freely. In doing so, your body would be torn to pieces in traumatic ways. And not to mention I'll be taking what I bestowed upon you. So no longer will you be an indestructible, inhuman beast. You will just be a scared little boy who lost everything and be killed by the hands of your own father. You're joking, right? Said Naruto. That was the only way that he could think this was happening, that she was joking. No, the process has already started. You see, I never intended for you to get your revenge. That is why I always stopped you from killing Minma or your sister, because I wanted to know that in the end you do not win. As Naruto looked towards Sana, who turned her head, ignoring him. Why? Said Naruto as he couldn't understand why was she doing this. Because you meant nothing to me. You were just a pathetic little boy that I used. Something that you haven't yet realized was, without me, your life would have been perfect. The son of the Hokage, a great hero. Powerful, strong. Just like your brother. You would have a normal family. But yet, I twisted your life into nothing but chaos. Including Sana here as well. Because we don't care about you, we were just using you. You were nothing but a means to an end. As Zana looked directly towards him, her eyes were hardened. As he looked towards her, it's true. We only wanted to use you so that we could be free. To be trapped inside of you forever was nothing but a misery. And in fact, We kind of hate you, said Zana. You are nothing but a means to an end. As Naruto sat there, completely silent, shocked to his core, as Jashin saw it. As that moment, she needed to put this on him. She needed to use this. I loved you, said Naruto. Well, we didn't care about you, said Zana. We were just using you, said Jashin. You were nothing but a means to an end. But you were too pathetic to not notice that. And now, I will be leaving you. Both of us will. The Konoha ninjas can handle you, because we're done with you. You can't, said Naruto. As at that moment his chest cracked. Once, they fully broke him to show him that he had nothing left. His mind fractured. His body could not contain this shock. Everything. And her literally forcing herself inside of him made it worse. As she burst into smoke and flew into his mouth. As Naruto cried outside, he grabbed his head. As he screamed to the heavens. The whole of Konoha shook. The place was shaking terribly. As Minato didn't know what was going on, he flashed outside, seeing that the smoke was not affecting his ear as he flashed through several hand signs. With his 2 fingers glowing, he slammed his hand down. As he carved a circle in the ground, it spread into a massive sealing matrix as it surrounded Naruto, trapping him inside a barrier that Minato quickly conducted. Minato had no idea what the hell was going on, or if it was even safe to get close to him right now. They had no idea. But the barrier exploded and sent Minato sailing away. A thick black darkness burst on Naruto's throat, and the seal on his stomach exploded as vile, toxic black chocolate leaked out of it, forming Zana. Zana felt her feet touch the ground. She was here, truly here, with all of her power restored to her. As she could feel the wind blowing through her hair. The darkness that was gathered all formed together and formed a single entity. Dark, pitch black eyes survey the area. What the hell is that? Some of the Konoha ninjas said, as they watched as Jashin formed. Nothing but a black dress. Her athletic figure, stunning to most men. Her deep black eyes seemed to stare into your soul. As Jashin felt it, her feet touched the soil. She was truly here. She was really here. But the consequences of them leaving left Naruto in a mess. There was a large hole that was in his chest and in his stomach. As his hands were to his side, his eyes were wide open. Why? That was the only word that came from his mouth. Zana clenched her fists. We have to do something. We can't just leave him here. No. As Jashin turned her back, leave him be. The Konoha ninjas will handle him. But even after everything, we can't just... No! I said leave him. It was then that Jashin felt something strange. We have to go. As Zana nodded before she glanced towards Naruto. As Naruto dropped to his side, blood spewing from his mouth and his open wounds that were not even healing. The Konoha ninjas were shocked as the barrier fell. He was stopped, defeated. But what just happened? On the other hand, Kushina was surprised. Was that the Kyuubi? The power felt more violent, toxic, but suddenly, a kunai landed beside Naruto as a Rasengan formed. It was Menma, as he drove the Rasengan straight towards Naruto's chest as he slammed it right in his chest. As blood spewed on Menma greater, the Rasengan into his chest, not caring about what just happened. Die! Die! He said as he grated the Rasengan into Naruto, just to see him die. As a gaping hole was blown into Naruto, connecting 2 holes from the one to his chest and his stomach. And strangely enough, he was still alive. How was that even possible? As Menma got up and went to hand sign, but he was stopped by Minato. As Menma wanted to burn his body, but he was stopped. As Minato looked down towards Naruto, his body was torn to pieces, but yet he was still alive. As Minato saw something strange, His body was stitching itself back together. It was healing at a slow rate, but it was healing. Meanwhile, as Jashin collapsed down to the ground, "What's wrong?" said Zan as she rushed over. I don't know. As Jashin held on to herself in pain. She didn't know what this was. Being who she was, she never experienced pain like this before. As she cried out in agony, she panted heavily. She felt strange the moment she exited. Did it not work perfectly? Asked Zena. It did, but something's wrong. Something was definitely wrong. She needed the power that she bestowed upon those who was her followers. She needed some to keep her going because she felt like she was about to fall at any moment. She raised her hands to the heaven. Meanwhile, Gara felt happy as they got a few new members into their ranks that sell their souls to Jashin to be a part of their cult. With Naruto as a leader, they were going to be unstoppable. She was so happy that she made the choice to join Naruto, as that was the best decision that she ever made in her life. Something strange and happened as the newer members started to drop as they cried in pain. Black smoke seeped out of their body. As their body turned into literal bones, they were dried up husks when the black smoke vanished. The older members stepped forward. "Gara-sama, what is happening?" "I don't know," said Gara. She touched her stomach where her seal was, as she was connected to Naruto by the seal, but yet she could no longer feel him. Meanwhile, Jashin absorbed all the darkness that came towards her, as she felt some of her strength return, but she was nowhere as powerful as she should be. "Are you okay now?" asked Zena. "I guess some of my power got left into Naruto, so he wouldn't be dying that easily. But I'm sure the Konoha ninjas can take care of him." "Did you really not care about him?" "You forced me to say those stuff. I didn't want to say either of them." "I know. But you belong to me now," said Jashin. "You can talk as you say. But to make me happy, you will do anything, won't you?" As she placed her hand on Zena's cheek, who leaned into the touch. "Why? Leave him like that. He loved us. He would have done anything for us. But you had to break him so that he could be free. You destroyed his mind. We destroyed his mind. I've been around for a long time now. Why would I care about a simple mortal? You as well, you're immortal as me. We can be together for eternity, you at my side, following my every commands. Wouldn't you like that?" Zena said nothing, as that sounded rather, well, good. To be with her master. As her mind was shifted from how she was, from the powerful nine-tailed beast. She was nothing more than a slave. But her master treated her well, and she had to follow what her master said to her. As Jashin smiled, yet tears, black tears, leaked from her eyes. What is this? As her body, her mind, knew that she messed up Naruto's life only to take it in the end. Their extraction probably would not kill him, but the Konoha ninjas would. What are we gonna do now? Well, as soon as I regain my strength, that I somehow lost. Strangely enough, it wasn't all inside of Naruto. What do you mean? I don't exactly know. But one thing is for certain, I am here. I am truly alive in this world now. There is so much soul, so much anguish, so much chaos in me cause. So much lust inside of me wants to be released. Naruto's sacrifice was a means to an end, and he fulfilled his quota. But in the end, he never got his revenge, Zena said. But it doesn't matter, said Jashin. Come on, let us move. I still have some worthy followers, which I need to show myself to show them that their queen is back. Wait, what about Gara? Both her and Naruto are connected on a different level. So by now, I'm sure that she's feeling that Naruto is dying. So perhaps she will go to Konoha and she will die. Not even her can take on the full force of Konoha right now. But that isn't our problem, is it? No, come on. I've never took a stroll around this world before. It's gonna be rather enjoyable. Let's see if we've passed any hitchhikers along our way. Despite her smile and her happiness, she felt something inside of her terrible. She felt disgusted with herself. But yet, she shouldn't be feeling that she was not human. And she didn't care about petty feelings, after all. She shouldn't have those feelings. The only thing she cared about was lust. And the chaos that she caused. She could slaughter as many. And not to mention she had a sexy vixen fox beside her. And she could handle most of her lusts. But her bed will be full. With men, women, from all over the elemental nation. She would live here like a queen. And her brother could not stop her. Because everything would be hers. This whole planet would be hers. Because finally she could intervene with humans. No longer watch from the sidelines. But yet a part of her. Her mind was on Naruto. The one that she took everything away from and left him for dead. But he was just a means to an end, correct? Time skip. Minato was in his office, as he just had a meeting with the council. The people of Konoha was gonna have a riot if they did not get what they wanted. And that was a public execution. All of them want to see with their own eyes Naruto's death. After all the families that he broke apart, all the members that he killed, they want to see with their own eyes the children that died. And Minato had to give them what they wanted. The people was demanding it. Chaos was gonna ensue in the village if they did not see it happen publicly. That is why Naruto's death was scheduled to happen in the public arena. He just had a fight with Menma about him delivering the final blow to Naruto. He wanted to be the one to kill him. Minato didn't know if that was so wise, as he didn't want his son near Naruto even in his weakened state. But after Menma brought up the issue with Hinata, it seems that the only right possibility, as Naruto took something that she could never gain back, by force to be exact. Hinata was still unconscious as Tsunade was making the girl rest as she placed her into an induced coma. After all, traumas like that, Tsunade was used to them as it happened a lot in the Second Shinobi War, and many people killed themselves afterwards, and they couldn't allow it to happen to Hinata, so they had to make her mind rest first, before making her come to the terms of what happened. It wasn't like a secret everyone had heard. Every single person was there when they heard what Naruto said. And even if they seal away those memories, a part of her subconsciously would always try to bring it back. Her mind would never be truly stable until she tried to accept it. But she was a tough girl, and she could fight through it. She could come out winning on top. On the other hand, Naruto was kept away, as Minato had made sure to create a room just in case they were able to ever catch Naruto. A room where no one could escape. The amount of seals inside, chains, it was just too much for a single person. But Naruto was not a normal person indeed. So he created a room specially, which Naruto was currently in the depths, the deepest layer of the Anvu base. The prison. Below the surface, deep down into the ground. He still had no idea what happened, but Kushina told him that she sensed Kyuubi's power, but it was more violent, more chaotic. But those two females, they came from within Naruto. Minato had no idea what was going on or what happened, but he heard what those girls said to Naruto before they left. That he had been used up. They no longer have a use for him. He didn't understand. Was that the Kyuubi using him? But who was the other one? He did not know which one of them was the Kyuubi either. This whole situation was a mess, and he was sure that Naruto was not going to tell him anything. They were going to keep him there until his public execution was scheduled. As his door opened up as Kushina walked inside, with a stern look on her face. "I want to see him," she said. What? Time skip 10 minutes later. It took a lot of arguing, but she managed to be able to see Naruto one last time. She wanted to speak to him about something that she felt earlier, something that confused her. As Kushina was taken to the deepest lowers of the base, she wished to speak to him privately. After all, there was no way that he could escape down here. As the Anvus led her the entire way, there was many seals that had to be opened. Many secret passageways going down. The place was so secure. If you managed to get lost in here without a guide, you could never find light once again. Kushina was then led to a giant iron door. As the Anvus, it took three of them to open it. As they had to perform the correct sequence at the same time, the Anvu nodded towards her, the commander, as she stepped inside. There was a wall, a glass wall, that was covered in so much seals. It was crazy. Behind that glass wall was Naruto as he was tied directly to the wall. Chains, hundreds of chains, swallowed his body whole. You couldn't even see his arms or legs. Only thing you could see was his head, and there was so much seals on the chains, it was ridiculous. As Naruto's eyes were open, his body had somehow healed after what Menma did to him, and what the things that came from inside of him did. Somehow he healed. Strangely enough. As Kushina looked towards him as she sat down in the chair that was there. She just looked towards him, not saying a word. He didn't say anything either. As Naruto was silent. For the first time he was just utterly silent. As Naruto's mind could not react. His mind didn't know how to feel. That this entire time that they were using him, he wanted to die. That was the only thing on his mind right now. He wanted to die. He didn't see any point of living. Knowing that you were being used from the beginning by someone that you trusted, someone that you loved. Because he did love them with everything that he had, he would give them anything. But they broke him. Their words ripped him apart. For someone so deadly, he was surely sensitive with the words. And there was nothing that could rebuild him at this moment. Because he was broken, he was a lost man. Someone that was just waiting for death, which would surely come. His mind drifted towards Gaara. She had stood by his side. Or perhaps it was best if she did not went down with him. Perhaps she could live her life until it ended. Live it to the fullest. Slaughter as many people as she wanted. But he was done. He didn't see the point of living anymore. He looked up towards his mother that didn't say anything. As Kushina saw his eyes, they were no longer black, instead they were blue. As Kushina calmed herself. You've done so many horrible things. Killed so many people. But yet I am still your mother because I'm the one that brought you in this world. And in the beginning, we did horrible things as parents. To turn you into this monster, we tried. We tried to fix it but we could not. And now there is no way of stopping your demise. You will die, she said. As Naruto looked towards her, I know, he said. He was calm, incredibly so. She saw that look in his eyes. You want to die, she said. As he simply looked down. What happened? Who were those two women? One of them felt like the Kyubin. Am I correct? They're no one important, said Naruto. Let's just say there's someone who broke me. That put me in this state. So I guess you guys would finally have your wishes fulfilled. So, when is my death coming, he asked. They want a public execution, she said. Every person that you took have a family member here that want to see you suffer. If Hinata did not abide by that, even the council members agreed, there would have been chaos amongst the people. Well, it's suiting, said Naruto. I did kill a bunch of people. He did not laugh or smile. His tone was just dry. What did the Kyubi do to you, she said. It wasn't just her. But let's just say they promised me everything. And they also took everything away from me in the beginning. I realized something. If I hadn't met them, if my life wasn't corrupted from the start, perhaps we would have been a real family. But I guess that is no longer an option. After all, I am a monster, he said. Don't take my words for kindness. If this was the other way around, I would probably be killing you right now. But it doesn't matter. So, who's gonna do the deed, he asks. As much as I hate to say it to Menma, but after what you did to Hinata, a part of me wish it was me that was killing you, she said. Figure, said Naruto, after all I did. I must be a disgrace, huh? Yes, you are, she said. You took her innocence away. Why did you do that? Just to make Menma suffer? Yes. I wanted all of you to suffer before I killed you, said Naruto. I know you hate me, there's no problem there because I kinda hate you as well and everyone else. But now I just feel nothing, he said. Like an empty husk waiting for death. I never knew things would turn out like this. Huh. Guess I was nothing but the fool that was being used in the beginning. I thought I was the one leading the show, but I was just an idiot being used. You listed Kyubey, and she turned you against us. Your entire family. I know you're gonna die, she said. I will not justify any of your actions, because after what you did, I no longer see you as my son despite that you still are. After what you did to Hinata, that was the final straw, concreting proof that you were nothing but a monster. That girl will never forget about that. Of what you did to her, she will forever be scarred. As Naruto looked towards her, well, I don't really give a damn, he said. I'm sorry things turned out this way. I'm sorry that it had to end this way. As she got to her feet, I hope you find some sort of happiness in the afterlife. Was that all you came to say? Said Naruto. Yes. As she walked away, leaving him. As Naruto sat there, unmoving, unfazed. How pathetic he was. Truly, utterly pathetic. He told the Shinigami that he was lying, that he was making up things when he was the one that was being naive, because he was being used. He was nothing but a naive, idiotic fool, and right now he didn't see the point of living. They should just get it over with and kill him already. Time skip. Minato sighed. At least one problem was dealt with. Naruto has done so many bad things. There was no reason to feel sorry for him, or any sympathy. He was a monster. Screams erupted all over the village. Minato wondered what the hell was going on as he opened the window, as he saw black sand grabbing people and twisting them, tearing them apart. Gaara could feel Naruto in the village, as she could feel him getting weaker and weaker, like his existence was about to be snuffed out at any moment. Perhaps it was his darkness vanishing, the connection was breaking, but she knew where he was, and she was gonna save him, she was gonna bring him away from this place. Gaara had no idea what happened or what was going on, but she wouldn't allow Naruto die like that. As Gaara made her way, she didn't matter if she had to take on the entire Hidden Leaf, she would save him. But guys, if you end episode right here. If you want the next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the notifications to get posted. Well, I'm over now, see you guys soon. Peace.